Thanks for making us number one. I'm proud to be awarded the Small Business of the Year by the Ludington and Scottville Chamber of Commerce. Your hit music is on 102.7 WMOM. Pentwater, Ludington, Free Soil, and all of West Michigan. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Michigan,
keeping you updated with our
2.7 FM. This is the show where we talk with leaders from Lake, Manistee, Mason, and Oceana counties to learn more about them and their leadership journey. We explore those pivotal times in their lives where they said, yes, I'll take charge, and those mentors who helped them along the way. I'm Ryan Howe of Southern Business Guides, where I help executive teams with strategic planning and guide them as they implement the Pinnacle Business Operating System so they can grow their businesses faster than they ever thought possible. You can learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. Joining us today is Adam Johnson, the president and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you finding time to come in today. I know you have a busy day, so what do you got?
Busy today. We got, I'm a board member for the Mason County Sports Hall of Fame. We've got a couple things going on today. At White Pine Village at 12 o'clock, we've got a little ceremony. There'll be a ceremony and then a luncheon there at 12 o'clock, and then later on tonight at 6 o'clock at Lincoln Hills will be a bigger dinner where they'll really get to honor this year's athletes that are being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then Safe Harbor's putting on I think it's our fourth annual blessing of the boats. Fortunately, the weather's going to be really good today. This will be our first year. I think we didn't have rain. And the blessing of the boats is a fundraiser this year for the Friends of the State Park. That's going to be down at Waterfront Park. We've got live music. We've got beer from Ludington Bay Brewing Company going to be down there. So 12 to 7 o'clock down at Waterfront Park. So that'll be a big fun event going on today in Ludington.
Oh, that's great. As you know, we definitely want to come back to hear more about the Sports Hall of Fame. Again, that's been an important part. Good recognition for you is what you've had. And so with this, again, the premise behind what we're doing here is want to make sure that we are able to recognize those individuals, those leaders in the community who are doing great things, but learn more about their journey, how they actually got to where they're at. So you're actually native. You're local Ludington, correct?
Correct. Born and raised. I went to Western Michigan University from 96 to 2000. And then after graduated from there, I moved to Chicago and lived there for a few years before I eventually got into banking and moved back here.
Okay, so a little bit of a boomerang on there. That's me as well. You're gone how many years total, do you think?
I was in college for 3 years, and then or 4 years, 4.5 actually. Then I was in Chicago for 3 years.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was gone for about a quarter century before I came back here. So, but no, it's good. A lot of times you got to leave to figure out who you are to be able to come back and do what you need to do. So, in high school, I see that you did okay in soccer. It looks like. Is that? Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how the teamwork and discipline, things of that, has been helpful?
Soccer was starting to kind of boom here in Ludington when I was growing up. One of my elementary teachers, Fred Horstman, was the longtime varsity soccer coach, and he just built a tremendous program over the years. I think his background mostly in coaching was like track and cross country, and he decided to get into soccer.
Well, there's a lot of running in soccer, so I guess.
So yeah, and that was one of the things that made us so good in soccer was we were always in good shape. So it seemed like he always had us at the beach, the dunes, running. So we were probably one of the most fit teams definitely in the state, and it showed with some long tournament runs that we had in the late 90s.
Yeah, I see that with that, though, obviously the running and all the hard work discipline played off. 1994, you were runner-ups?
Correct, yes. Fortunately, we ran up against Detroit Country Day, which they were number 3 in the country at that point.
Okay.
It was kind of surprised him at first. I scored a goal early on in the game to put us up 1-0, but it was called back. Officials said I used my hand to knock the ball in the goal, which I technically did, but I was kind of pushed. Yeah. So that goal was called back, but it was 1-0 at halftime. Country Day was ahead. And I think towards the end of the game, we kind of just ran out of gas, and they ended up beating us 4-0. But it was. I didn't
mean to rip that scab off. Sorry about that. That wasn't the intent today. No. So then I did see again first team All-State twice. Is that correct?
Correct. my junior year, making it to the state championship game, our coach did have, I think, a few more votes to get people on the team. So we had 3 people that year that were first team All-State. Chris Stibbets was our star forward, and then my brother was our star goalie. Those 2 and myself. But the next year, really, to me, was more of the honor where one of our rivals from Spring Lake, their coach, nominated me for first team. So that meant the most when you've got another coach that's nominating you for first team.
Yeah. So on the team, we're trying to think of the best part to say about this is the leadership that you had within the team. Did you have captain at all? Were you?
I was my senior year.
Okay.
My junior year, we had a couple captains, Chris Stibbets and Chad Holmes. A lot of people remember Chad Holmes as the all-star basketball player. So those 2 provided tremendous leadership. I think my senior year, I could have done a little bit better job, honestly, in terms of leading the team.
How so?
I think at times I wasn't nearly as focused, and I'm not quite sure why. We had a pretty successful year my senior year, but it wasn't. I think the team just wasn't quite as focused as the year before, and it probably showed a little bit. We definitely made it far. We made it to the regional finals my senior year, getting beat by the eventual state champs in sudden death overtime.
Oh, geez.
Petoskey. But I think I could have just done a little bit better job of making sure myself and the team was focused. And I don't know if it was what the reasoning behind that was.
Well, I mean, so was this the first time that you had ever been in like an actual leadership position?
Yeah, I would say that. And maybe just kind of a little bit of there's maybe a little pressure to make it as far as we did the year before, and I didn't maybe really handle that pressure that well. So I think the year before making to the state championship game, the next year feeling like, hey, we got to get maybe not win the state championship, but maybe get to at least the semifinals or the finals, and we unfortunately didn't. But I think maybe the team previously set the bar pretty high and just felt a little pressure to try to get close to that.
Okay. So in that case, did you receive any like additional feedback, or again, you're talking about with your coaches there, that as far as them being mentors that helped you along the way as you were maybe struggling or learning your new position in the team? So where they come in and help you out?
Fred Horseman was just a tremendous motivator, and there was a point, because when I talk about distraction, there was a point in the year where I think potentially I was maybe going to get suspended a game because we had a little bit of a rift going on between the soccer players and the football players, if you can believe that. And I think there was a little bit of vandalizing that went on with some football players' cars. And I think there was a point where they were maybe going to suspend me or a couple of the players. And that was right before a game, and Mr. Horseman sat me down before kickoff and said a few things to me, and I was instantly focused and just ready to play that game. And I scored a goal, I think, less than 10 seconds into the game. It wasn't a very good team, but we scored right away. And he just had a way of, I think, reading people and then also communicating with them. So he was a huge part in trying to get me kind of refocused on the season.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's the thing with when you're able to find a quality mentor like that, somebody who they know exactly which buttons to push, which dials to turn, or when to step back and say, you got this, go make your mistakes and learn your way. That's so extremely important. So you did mention again, as far as the Sports Hall of Fame, when were you inducted into that?
I think it was during the COVID era. I think it was 2020 or 2021. I don't recall.
Okay, and then you're also a board member. How did that come about? Because the one thing that I find that's unique I'm finding within leaders, they rarely just stay a leader in their own expertise. They tend to spread out and take other opportunities to learn to have influence within the community. So how did this come a board member? What made you decide I want to go and have this extra level of impact on the community?
The person very involved in, I think started the Mason County Sports Hall of Fame was Vic Burwell, and I'll probably touch on him a little bit later. But he and my father, Les Johnson, was also on the board, and there was, I think, the initial board members that started the Mason County Sports Hall of Fame were starting to step down, step aside, enjoy their retirement, and Vic was looking for some new, I think, younger blood. And I love sports, and I love our sports history in the county, especially Ludington. So when I was asked to be on the board, it was something that I definitely was pretty excited to do. And I think the one thing that Mason County Sports Hall of Fame really does is it doesn't just honor the local athletes. They talk a lot about life lessons and what you learn playing sports over the years. So it's a great organization to be a part of, and they honor a lot of great people. But they also, if you have a chance to go out to White Pine Village, there is a building there with the Sports Hall of Fame, and there's obviously a lot of pictures and articles about different local athletes, but there's also a lot of sections in there about life lessons that people have learned throughout their athletic career.
Oh, that's great. Again, that's one thing you find with sports, and that's where, as a school board member for Mason County Eastern, it's one of the things that we've been struggling with as far as filling out our athletic teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just our school; it's it's across everywhere. You're seeing it, and my hope is we get the young men and women back into these teams just because of what they can learn. It's going to help them, in the rest of their lives, that they learn with discipline, teamwork, adversity, all those different things. So yeah. But after this, you went on to college, and you did okay in college. It seems playing soccer as well.
Ludington and myself had a long history with Western Michigan soccer. I think it was probably 1984. I think I was around like sixth grade in Western Michigan. Their coach brought the team to Ludington to put on a youth camp in the mornings, and then they would do training in the afternoon. And Western continued that tradition from around 84 to my sophomore year in high school. So over those years, we also hosted a lot of Western Michigan soccer players, and they'd come to town to train. And so I got to know their coach very well over the years, and I was just excited for the opportunity to go play for him at Western. Growing up, would go watch a lot of games at Western. So I was super excited to go to Western and play for that coach. We didn't always have successful teams. I played with some great players. One guy got drafted MLS and played professional soccer for a little bit. He was a starting goalie. So my brother, unfortunately, never got much playing time unless that goalkeeper got injured. But it was just exciting, kind of following in the footsteps of a lot of those soccer players that I looked up to over the years at Western Michigan.
Oh, that's great, and that's that continuation again. So, spending time in sports. Again, you said you were obviously getting the accolades that you've had, but would you have had any chance to have those accolades again being recognized if you didn't actually have your team that you had there?
Definitely not. I mean, I think, like I said, I was fortunate to play in an era with Ludington soccer where we had a lot of success, and with that success, you get noticed. And I was just fortunate to play around so many good players. I think I was actually talking to Mr. Horstman earlier this week, and we were talking about that 94 team, and I think we had 5 Division I athletes on that team.
Oh, wow.
And then there was maybe 3 Division III athletes on that team. So we had a team loaded full of great athletes, and I know without playing around those type of players, I wouldn't have had the success afterwards.
For sure. So, and with that, again, just go back to the high school spot there where you were in the again, as far as that captainship, it's there's a shift that has to take in your mindset when you go from being a team member and again being a good follower and supporting the captains who are leading there to actually stepping into that role. How well do you think that transitioned? And I just want to ask a question. Do you remember when you got something absolutely right as a captain? You had to make a call, you had to have a locker room conversation, you had to do something that when you, at the end of it, the individual and you, it was a better better environment where everybody was able to basically go to work and do their job.
I think probably I could maybe pinpoint a game my senior year. Like I said, yeah, at times I felt I was a little maybe distracted my senior year, and I could have done a better job. And there was one game, middle of the season, we were playing one of our biggest rivals, and they were ranked, I think, number 1 in the state for class CD, Western Michigan Christian. And the year before was the first year Ludington had ever beat them. So we knew going into that game it was going to be a tough game. And it was like a Monday night under the lights in Muskegon, and they had a band there, and it was just a great crowd. And I think I kind of just said some things to the players during the game and before the game, and everybody was pretty much focused, and we really took it to Western Michigan Christian. We, I think, tied 3-3 and went into overtime, and still nobody won. But I remember Muskegon Chronicle was there, and they were just interviewing a lot of the players after the game, and just said, hey, I wish we could have played another 15 minutes of overtime, because that was an exciting game. And I think I just kind of, whatever I said to some of the players during the game, it really got everybody kind of focused. And I was disappointed we didn't win that game, but it was a game that it was probably one of our biggest accomplishments that year, was tying Western Michigan Christian.
No, thanks for that. And that's been my experience. What I found with all the leaders that I've worked with over the years is that there tends to be a point that there's this transition, this pivot, where they say, yeah, absolutely, I got this, and they are then able to take those lessons that they've learned. For a lot of people, it's hard to speak up and say those things, but when you are in that position, you've got to find a way to say the words. May not always come out right, but that's always amazed me. People get intention to be able to say, yep, okay, let's go do our job, let's go do the work. That's fantastic. So, again, going back here, again, you mentioned Mr. Horseman. Is there anybody else, as far as mentors, that you can think back to that really had an impact during that time?
One person that probably definitely start with would be my dad, Les Johnson. Just a hard worker. So he was in business, and I just saw him working hard a lot. But in terms of other mentors that I had in the area that were related to sports, everybody will recognize this name, and he was probably almost everybody's gym teacher growing up, and that was Howard Jensen. He was, you and I talked a few weeks ago, and he's a name that I brought up, and I probably don't talk enough about him over the years in terms of what he did. He was just one of those guys that I worked so hard to please and fit in the gym class, because he'd always have competitions, and he'd give out prizes or awards. Sometimes it might be a tennis ball that his kids, are brought back from a tournament or something like that, and I wanted that. And so I always constantly trying to please him, or impress him, impress him, and he never acted impressed. So you're constantly striving to impress somebody that never will. He probably, and that's how he was with everybody, and probably his kids. You just he wasn't going to act impressed when you did something really good. So it constantly drove you to push yourself more and more. Another person that was an influence was my high school basketball coach, Dan Neal. He was kind of I don't know if you like this comparison, but he was kind of like a Bobby Knight. He didn't throw chairs or anything like that.
I was going to ask about that. Okay, good. No chair throwing.
He didn't throw chairs. He didn't throw anything, but he was very hard on us. But he was fair. So he was somebody that I was always trying to, please, work hard for him. But I think all those coaches, Howard Jensen, Fred Horseman, and Dan Neal, what I didn't realize until later on was what they taught me wasn't basketball or soccer. It was various life lessons that I look at today. So I think they were very valuable influences growing up. And again, it wasn't what they taught me on the field or the court. It was the life lessons that I use today.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's great. I think when you think back to those times, it's usually after the fact. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, that's why I was stacking all that hay. Oh, okay. I basically wanted to make sure, show me a little grit, little follow through to be able to get those things. And no, that's great. So again, we're going to move on. We're getting towards the end of the first segment here, so thank you for sharing all that. Again, what we're looking for here is going to take our first break here in a second. And when we return, we're going to be discussing the next phase. And this is where I think a lot of folks don't know this about you, or you studied abroad for a bit. You were over in England and then had some other travels. So we definitely want to spend some time kind of just talking about that a little bit, because that is a unique opportunity that I'd love to hear how that actually came to, and what you learned from there, whatever you'll bring back. So you and you spent a year studying abroad. So you are listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 FM, WMOM, and online at WMOM.FM.
Jason Smith from the Ludington Police Department. The Ludington Police Department is excited to present the second annual Golf Cart Show and Parade. It's a great opportunity for golf cart owners to show off their rides and for the community to come out and see them. There will be large crystal trophies awarded to the best in show in several categories: golf cart safety information, family activities, and of course an awesome parade following. This is a family event. It's free for everyone. There's no charge for golf cart owners nor those who come down and join in the fun or voting. This event is for the side-by-sides at home. Want to give a big thank you to Lakeshore Motorsports, Carting Around Ludington, 102.7 WMOM and 99.9 WHCH. Come on down. We're going to be located just west of James Street on Foster from 6 to 8 p.m. for the second annual Ludington Golf Cart Show, Friday, June 30th. We hope to see you there.
With colon cancer now being diagnosed in younger Americans, routine colonoscopies are recommended beginning at age 45. But 1 in 3 people are not up to date with their screenings. Early detection is the key. Be proactive about your health. Talk to your primary care provider or call 231-843-3717 to schedule your colonoscopy at Ludington Hospital.
Did someone say $2 drinks? Applebee's has $2 Long Island iced teas for a limited time. Who doesn't love a good deal on drinks just in time for summer? Enjoy your Long Island with one of Applebee's delicious half-off appetizers during happy hour. Happy hour is Monday through Friday, 3 to 6, and every day of the week after 9 p.m. Head to Ludington Applebee's on US 10 right across from Meyer. Don't have time to dine in? No worries. Just order online at applebees.com or order with the Applebee's app for quick carside to go. If you're looking for a fun and fast-paced career, we've got you covered. Applebee's is hiring for all positions: cooks, servers, hosts, and dishwashers. We hope to see you soon, either as a guest or a new team member.
Another Mom's Fridge Magnet, heard every 30 minutes here on WMOM and underwritten by McGee Insurance. West Michigan CMH, Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, and Watson Motors is up next.
Hi, Ashley here from WMOM. Did you know that Google says most AC systems in a vehicle should be recharged every 2 years with recharging Freon? Head to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire on South James Street to have your AC checked by professional technicians.
Dan Bacon with McGee Insurance. All of our policies are a little different because every family is a little different. Your home or auto, life insurance, or even your own business, these set you apart from the rest. So let's build a policy that's just as unique as you. Call us today, 231-845-5000. McGee, the guarantee you can count on.
Join the Manistee County Library on June 29th for a free-spirited, loosey-goosey social hour for building friendship, nurturing play, and a story. It's a wonderful time for all ages starting at 11 a.m. If your organization has an event that you'd like to promote, for free, reach out to us. Mom's Fridge Magnet is a free community calendar of announcements and underwritten by Watson Motors, Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, and West Michigan CMH on 102.7 Mom FM.
Finding out how the journey began to their success. It's Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe on 102.7 WMOM.
Welcome back to Leading West Michigan on WMOM 102.7 FM. I'm Ryan Howe, and we're continuing our conversation with Adam Johnson, the president and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union. Now, before the break, we were about to discuss your time across the pond, where you spent a year abroad. Can you fill us in on, one, how that opportunity came about, kind of what you did while you were there, and then any impact you may have had?
I can't remember how it started. I don't remember if it was just my freshman year getting there. We had 1 or 2 players that were on the team that actually went to London and studied abroad. So I think it was just them telling me about their experience. in the fact that I didn't do a very good job studying Spanish in high school, so I knew Spain probably wasn't the best place for me to go. So even though Mrs. Budrum, my elementary Spanish teacher, told me over the years that I would need Spanish, I would use it. I wish I would have listened to her and I could have went to Spain. But so I could only go someplace where they spoke English. So I went to London, and it was just a great experience. My twin brother was supposed to come with me, but leading up to it, he didn't do the work he needed to do in terms of making sure that the classes that we took over there were going to transfer back to Western. I had to go to various departments around campus and get okayed from various professors to say, yep, this one will transfer, this will transfer. For some reason, my brother didn't want to do it, but it was probably the best thing for me, because I think if he and I were to go over there together, we're kind of always use each other as a crutch. And not having him next to me there just forced me to really get out of my comfort zone. So that's kind of one thing I took away from studying abroad was it was something that really took me out of my comfort zone. I didn't have any friends over there. I had to meet new people. I lived with a family, and I had to share a bedroom with another guy from Wisconsin. I had another roommate in a bedroom down the hall. He was from Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So it was a house full of a lot of people from all over the world, essentially. So it was, luckily the schooling was not very difficult. It was pretty easy. I think I didn't have classes on Friday. My Monday class didn't start until late in the afternoon, so it just left the door open for me to travel a lot on the weekends and then come back to London. And it got me out of my comfort zone, forced me to really, because I'm kind of a shy person, so it kind of really forced me to break out of that skin and just meet new people and hang out with new people from all over the world or all over the USA.
Yeah, that's is one thing. I'm retired Air Force, and that's one thing that if I could share with everyone is get out of the country, go across, pick an ocean, go across one of those, and spend some time, immerse yourself in the culture if at all possible. You learn so much about yourself not being around your local culture like this. You also get to learn that, for the most part, and this has been my experience, the individuals that you run into, they're just like us over here. They wake up, they want to have a good job, they want to be able to have, a home, family, and want to be able to go and have a refreshing beverage down at the pub every now and again and have as little drama as possible. At least that's been my experience. Where did you get to travel in the continent very much?
They gave us like a 2.5 week spring break, so traveled all over Europe, and then on weekends, it was easy. You could just jump a bus and go to Amsterdam, or get on a plane and go to Dublin. 1 week, this girl came up to me that I was studying with, and she's like, "Hey, Adam, would you like to go to Morocco with 6 girls?" And I was like, that doesn't sound too bad.
I was going to say, that's an easy sales pitch right there.
Yeah, so I went to, the school was fine with it, said, hey, we're not going to be at school for this week, and I was like, go have fun. So I went to Morocco for a week with 6 girls, and that was obviously a very eye-opening experience. We traveled through the desert, but then we also jumped on a bus and traveled to Marrakesh, and it just saw some crazy stuff.
You obviously went to the market while you were there. Yep. That's what everybody sees in Marrakesh. Yep. So
it was that was just a very eye-opening experience. I remember walking with one of the girls, and she's like, "Oh my God, if my dad could see what I'm seeing right now, he would be freaking out, and he'd wish I wasn't here right now." So it was, someone growing up in Ludington and then going to college. You're kind of in the real world, but when you study abroad and then you step away from that university and you get into the real world, it was just a great experience. I can remember being in Rome with a girl, and we went to go visit the Colosseum, and we just missed it. They just closed it, and she's like, "Hey, Adam, let's sneak in here. Let's climb this fence and try to get in there." And I was like, "Well, this isn't like climbing the fence at Oriole Field. If you get caught in the Coliseum, they're probably going to throw you in prison for a while." So it was. I was fortunate to meet a lot of very adventurous people.
Did you climb the fence?
I for once, I think I was the voice of reason, and she's like, "Okay, Adam, good thing we didn't do that." So it was just. The people that I met from the States that were over there were a lot of fun and very adventurous.
No, that's great. And then, again, the expats that tend to hang out in those areas, they're always a good group too. So now with there, something unique that also occurred, you played on the club soccer team as well, brought your talents over there.
I did. It was a fun experience, and I think I wrote a little article that's at the Mason County Sports Hall of Fame on diversity. The team I played with, playing for Western, pretty much most of the guys on the team were from Michigan, suburban Detroit area. They were different than me, but we were all very similar. But then going over there and playing with just some people from all over England. There were some guys from the West Indies. There was a very, very diverse team. So just not just learning how to play with those people, but just learning how to hang out with them on a regular basis was just a good experience, and kind of taught you how to interact with various types of people. And
as I was doing my research again, on the Sports Hall of Fame, they actually have it listed. You guys won the North London Championship, is that correct?
That was a great experience. Where the university put us on a bus and took us to kind of this facility with a little stadium. There was a pub below the stadium, which our goalkeeper was you normally see water bottles at the goalposts. Our goalkeeper had 2 bottles of beer that game. He was a big rugby type player, and the farther we got in the tournament, this guy came on the team, and he was just a maniac. But it was, again, just another personality that was great to learn how to play with and deal with on a regular basis.
No, that's great. And that's that other spot where you just get so used to spending quality time, again, learn. But you also, when you're with those, again, you mentioned a very diverse group, you learn so much about, again, how to interact with others. Again, there's the thing, West Michigan nice is a thing, this area. When I mentioned that to people, like, oh, that is a thing. I didn't realize that's what that was. But when you go, I've found that, especially over in Europe, we are much more outspoken than the vast majority of them are. And you learn, like, okay, hold on, maybe a little more reserve on your conversations, think a little bit more, where, with us, we say words and you just deal with it on the back end. Was there anyone as far as mentors or that took you while you were there that you like to?
The captain on our team, I can't remember his last name now, Luke, he was one of those athletes or students where he started college years before, really wasn't for him, got into the real world, and then came back to the university life. And so he was older, and he was somebody that I looked up to, and he definitely helped me navigate living in London. I just remember one game our team ended up getting almost in a full team brawl. And he was someone that just kind of stood back and just said, let those youngsters deal with it. And I kind of just followed his lead, and we just kind of hung back and watched a few of our other players throw a few punches. And it was he's somebody that I looked up to, and to this day I enjoy seeing him on Facebook. He's just got a very funny personality, but he's also a very smart guy.
No, that's great. And again, it is amazing, though, the difference with sports and just how you're able to just transcend any sort of language or culture barrier when everybody gets together. Also, same thing goes once you're actually working in an organization. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. You've got this united, again, purpose and direction that you have. So you're able to work across cultures, but you also learn a lot from each other as well. Again, yes, you spoke the same language as the folks in England, but their culture couldn't be pretty much any more different than what we have here, but the similarities are also there as well. So that was great. Thanks for sharing that. So it's about time for our next break, and when we return, we'll move on to your transition to your professional life, which, spoiler alert, wasn't in finance or banking. It was actually in beer. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 FM, WMOM, and online at WMOM.FM.
Blue Moon, Bubblegum, Mackinac Island Peanut Butter Fudge, Chocolate Peanut, Truffles and Fudge, and Michigan Pothole. We all know these signature favorites from House of Flavors, right? Did you know when you work at House of Flavors Manufacturing, you get free ice cream to take home? House of Flavors Manufacturing is hiring for all positions in every shift. Take pride in your work and do it to the best of your abilities. Commitment and reliability. Career growth and development is available if you are committed and desire and achieve even more when you work at House of Flavors Manufacturing. Want to know something else? At House of Flavors Manufacturing, you get to work in the cold. With summer being here, I'm sure you would want to be working in a freezer instead of the hot, humid outdoor weather and get paid an amazing wage for doing so. Interested in working at House of Flavors Manufacturing? Go to the House of Flavors Manufacturing website and click on the Careers tab and apply now.
Aaron Doan here. Did you know that my agency has been serving our community for 20 years? I love your help in celebrating this milestone. Join me for a classic car show on June 25th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the 10 Spot, located on U.S. Highway 10 in Ludington. Want to show off your classic car? I'd love to have you. Call our office at 231-757-3115 to register for the event. Remember, Sunday, June 25th from 10 to 3 at the 10 Spot to help celebrate 20 years of business for Aaron Doan State Farm, located on West US 10 in Ludington.
Fruity, refreshing wines, lounging outside with your friends, catching up with lost memories, enjoying a freshly sliced baguette with a side of seasoned olive oil that you can soak your bread into. As you think to yourself, why haven't I tried North Branch Winery before? This place is amazing. North Branch Winery has something for everyone. An appetizing charcuterie board with an assortment of fresh meats, aged cheeses, salty olives, juicy pickles, crunchy crackers, flavorful jams, and tasty dried fruit. Try a charcuterie board for yourself while wine tasting or enjoy one with your relatives. Head to North Branch Winery in Scottville or call 231-631-8408. That's 231-631-8408.
Hi, this is David from West Michigan CMH. Did you know that we have free Narcan and free fentanyl test strips and vending machines at each site in Lake, Mason, and Oceana County? Although residents can get the fentanyl test strips and Narcan for free, getting it into the hands of individuals who are at risk of overdose or their loved ones can be a challenge. These machines will provide an easy access point right in each of our lobbies at 920 Diana Street in Ludington, 105 Lincoln Street in Hart, and 1090 North Michigan Avenue in Baldwin. Thank you to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for making this possible. If anyone in our community is struggling with substance uses and would like to work towards remission and recovery, call us today at 1-800-992-2061. That's 1-800-992-2061.
And now back to Leading West Michigan with your host, Ryan Howe, and his guest, Adam Johnson, President and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union on 102.7 WMOM.
Welcome back to Leading West Michigan on WMOM 102.7 FM. I'm Ryan Howe, and we're continuing our conversation with Adam Johnson, the President and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union. Before the break, I mentioned that you started your professional life, and it was not in finance. I happened to be in the adult beverage industry. So, where was this? And basically, what did you learn? Who helped you basically learn, hey, this is what the working life is like?
I was fortunate that one summer before I graduated college, Dan Foote and Buddy Reed gave me an opportunity to work for Ludington Beverage here in town. And so that gave me good experience in the beer business. So when I moved to Chicago, I came across a summertime help for Anheuser-Busch. It was a distributor owned by the brewery in St. Louis, so it was just like Ludington Beverage, but bigger. And wasn't uncommon to see August Busch the third or fourth stop by. So I got a job there, and then for the summer, and unfortunately it turned into a full-time job, kind of in the sales department. I started out as a merchandiser, so I'd have to go to a lot of the big stores or even some bars and have some fun. And then that moved into it's kind of like graphic arts, which is something that I really did like in high school. So I did a lot of signs that were in the various bars or stores in that part of Chicago we were at. And then fortunately that transitioned to a relief rep so I was a salesman. I'd take over various routes when the other sales reps were on vacation or something like that. So it was a very fun business to be in Chicago, but I could tell that it was probably something that I don't know if I wanted to do for the rest of my life, because it was a lot of late nights and early mornings.
Yeah, it seems like and from what you're saying here, it seems like there was an awful lot of opportunity for you to try out different things. Was there any times where you were applying to things that didn't go so well for you, or do you have anything on that?
Yes, as a merchandiser, or when I was in the graphic arts department, I was applying for other various sales positions that were coming up. And when I started there was a lot of young people that came into the company, and all of us wanted to get that next promotion. And I think I was denied a promotion, or didn't get it 2 or 3 times before I actually did get it. So it was at first I was very disappointed and bummed, but I think I just learned to not let that get me down. And I don't think I got any feedback from some of my bosses on, hey, why I got it. But some other sales reps kind of told me, hey, if you want to take that next step, this is kind of what you have to do. And I kind of just worked harder. And I think it was just key that when I didn't get those promotions, I didn't let that get me down or get a negative attitude or just quit and go someplace else. It was just kind of allows you to push yourself, work even harder, and eventually you'll kind of get where you want to be.
Yeah, that's the thing with, again, sharing with individuals here is that, apply for those promotions, apply for those jobs that you'd like to have, you may not quite be ready for, and you'll be surprised what you're going to learn during the interview process. I'm sure they probably asked you a couple questions. You're like, I'm not familiar with any of that, or or you didn't find that, hey, you know what, I'm actually pretty close to being able to get this. So again, just put in a little bit extra time and energy to be successful there. So, did you have any mentors? It seems to be a good theme that you have here. There's folks that don't mind sharing some wisdom or holding you accountable.
I had 2 supervisors that worked harder than anybody. So they were Dennis Nystrom and Sal Carmona. Dennis actually came from a Miller distributor, and they brought him back over to Anheuser-Busch, and he was my boss for a while. But Sal Carmona also came from another Budweiser distributor in the city, and both of them were just 2 people that worked extremely hard, but they played hard as well. But they took very good care of their employees, but they kind of also expected you to work just as hard as they did. And if you didn't, they would kind of let you know. But very again, hardworking individuals, but they would reward you if when you worked just as hard as they did. I remember Dennis did me a big favor. It was I wanted to get back to Western one day for maybe a weekend, a big football game or something, and Dennis allowed me to, I didn't have a car in Chicago, Dennis allowed me to take one of the company cars. It was like a big van with Bud Light on the side of it. And so it was great taking that to a college campus, but he's like, hey, don't tell so-and-so, but here's my keys, take the vehicle. So they were willing to kind of stick their neck out. Sure. and let me do things like that. So if he's going to do me a big favor like that, I'm not going to let this guy down, and I'm just going to continue to work hard for him and do whatever he asked me to do. Well,
it probably wasn't bad marketing either to have a Bud Light vehicle there as well. So, no, that's so when you say as far as the challenging you and also making you work as hard as they did, was it something more of like do you find it was they wanted to help you learn what the actual hard work, focused work was, or what were they, when you're saying that they made you work harder, what does that actually mean?
I guess it was, they didn't, ask you. I think my personality was, I see these guys working, I can't let them outwork me. I kind of feel like that in my career now. I don't want anybody to outwork me. So these guys, I just saw them working very hard. They were working very early, working late, and they were sales guys, but they had no issues with slinging beer around and unloading trucks and stocking cases and cases of beer, 30 packs. So they're doing that. So I'm like, so I always tried to work just as hard or outwork them.
So with that, but while they were busy helping others, did their quality of work, then their expectations drop for what they had to produce?
No.
So it was and that's one of the keys that I do find when you get new leaders, they come into those positions, they will try to help where they can, and they actually lose the focus that, hey, we're in charge. I got to make sure I take care of this because this is my primary job right now. And then instead of being able to help out others with theirs. So that's great. I remember I was actually with Pepsi as a merchandiser. So I remember that I actually followed Jim Dotson around on his route with Pepsi. And the number of times where we ended up meeting up together, and he would take time to talk to me a little bit. I went to school with his daughter Sheila, and so I knew him pretty well. But he always separated the two. This is the Ryan in school, and this is the Ryan at work. And I remember numerous times where we'd be stopping, and he would be like, "Hey, when you're actually stocking these or you're doing this display, this is the way it needs to go." And he'd actually show me on his sales numbers, so I would have to be better educated myself to be able to help him move more product ultimately. So I'd help him out there. So, so you mentioned before when you talk about with those two individuals with Sal and Dennis, that you've taken some of their work hard. Is there anything else that you've been able to adopt from them that you could say that has helped you in your current career?
Yeah, and another thing that they did that I really appreciated was they were always, they never felt like they were on a higher level when I was down here. They were always at my level.
Okay.
They never made me feel like they were my supervisor. Yeah. They never made me feel like I'm way down here as a merchandiser and they're up here as a sales manager.
So they weren't above the work, basically. So it's like, for instance, if you were the president and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union, you have a Blessing of the Boats event going on, and there's setup happening maybe down by the band shell over there. You might possibly be actually walking around with fencing material and everything. That's where.
I hope Jen Merchant believes that. I mean, yes, I was helping set up yesterday, and hopefully she felt that I carried my own weight.
Well, you weren't given direction. You were just down there saying, "Where do you need me, Jen?" I could see as I was walking up. I had to get a picture with him yesterday, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, "Oh, that's him over there." He's literally helping to haul the barricades and other stuff around for the event today. Which, again, something that you learned as you were coming up, that you are now applying. Again, being humble, not being above the work. However, if you're understanding the difference between, you still have to manage your affairs as the boss, and when you have the opportunity and the bandwidth, yes, then you can go do those things. And that's a very challenging, transition for a lot of people to make, to go from doers to that other area. So great. So, all right, that was fantastic. The Anheuser-Busch talk there. Basically, it's time for our next break. So, we're going to be moving on to, let's see what's the next spot here. Actually, where you have your next journey here into the finance world that we have. So, my notes here. All right. So, again, you are listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 FM, WMOM, and online at WMOM.FM.
Have you always wanted to make a difference in someone's life? At St. John's Home Healthcare, you can do just that. St. John's Home Healthcare has compassionate individuals, client-based, and as a staff, which gives you stability in a career-based environment. The staff at St. John's Home Healthcare love what they do and the people they work with. Join the team at St. John's Home Healthcare and make a difference in someone's life. St. John's Home Healthcare is hiring in Ludington, Muskegon, Cadillac, and other various areas. Apply at St. John's main office, located at 609 North Washington Avenue in Ludington, or apply online today.
Howdy y'all, Cowboy Colin here with Superior Exteriors. It's finally summer in northern Michigan. That means no better time to get your roof and seamless gutter replaced. And boy, do we have a heck of a deal for y'all. So, what we're running this month, our 10% off gutter has been crushing. You guys are loving that, so we're gonna keep that going through the month of June. But on top of that, we're gonna offer 5% off all roofing and gutter combinations. That's huge, thousands of dollars. So, give us a call today at 231-907-2882. That's 231-907-2882, and get one of our awesome project consultants out to see if we're a good fit for you.
Stay tuned for A Mom's Fridge Magnet, underwritten by Watson Motors, Community Mental Health, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire.
Randy Sarnowski with McGee Insurance, your friendly neighborhood insurance agency. We specialize in customizing our policies for you, your family, and even your business. For over 80 years, we have been here serving you. Call us at 231-845-5000. McGee, the guarantee you can count.
Hi, this is Ryan from Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Have Lakeshore Automotive and Tire take care of all your car needs so you don't have to break a sweat.
Music Sparks, meaning brings you an evening of live music at First Street Beach, providing local students the opportunity to collaborate and perform with professional touring musicians. Music Sparks, meaning believes that music can be a catalyst for personal growth and happiness. Join us on July 1st as Abby Thomas performs from 6 to 9 p.m. at First Street Beach in Manistee. If your organization has an event that you'd like to promote, for free, reach out to us. Mom's Fridge Magnet is a free community calendar of announcements and underwritten by Watson Motors, Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, and West Michigan CMH on 102.7 Mom FM.
And now, back to Leading West Michigan with your host, Ryan Howe, and his guest, Adam Johnson, President and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union on 102.7 WMOM.
Welcome back to Leading West Michigan on WMOM 102.7 FM. I'm Ryan Howe, and we're on to the final segment of our conversation with Adam Johnson, the President and CEO of Safe Harbor Credit Union. So, this last bit that we have here, Adam, again, I would just love to hear about how everything you've had in your journey so far that has really prepared you for your current journey. Talk about your team. Talk about how you've been able to help them. Again, let's hear a little bit more about what you're doing now with your leadership.
Well, I was definitely enjoying my time in Chicago in the beer business, but I had a friend from Ludington call me up and say, hey, would you be interested in getting into banking? So I moved back to Ludington 20 years ago this fall and got into banking, something I never really thought I would want to do or interested me, but it was something that I really liked. The more time I was in it, the more I enjoyed it. And I think it was mostly just because it's in the community. Or
Okay.
you're able to help a lot of people, or you're able to see, hey, we approved this loan for that development, or we approved this loan to redo that commercial building. So you can really see the impact that your decisions make at the local level. So I really, especially now at Safe Harbor Credit Union, working not just with, I won't really consider them coworkers. There's people like Jen Merchant that we went to elementary school together. So I love working with people that are my friends and coworkers. I'm trying to think of if there's anybody else that I grew up with. I mean, there's a lot of the people I work with are people that I've known for a long time. So
I went to school with Blake Bailey.
I think he and I played t-ball together.
Okay.
So I love living and working in community where a lot of our staff I grew up with, or they've grown up with a lot of the people that they work with on a regular basis. So I just love the community banking type feel working at Safe Harbor Credit Union, where you can really have an impact in the area and individuals' lives. So I really don't see it as banking. It's really just a people business where you can just really help people, or you can just really see them succeed in this local community.
So again, that's great. And that's one of the reasons that, again, I was telling you in a previous conversation that when I first moved back here, I saw the Safe Harbor Credit Union ad on television, and I was flipping through like, okay, had a really good vibe to it. Then I saw Blake on the commercial, like, hey, I know that guy. But as I've went around the community here, you mentioned Safe Harbor Credit Union. There's people's, they perk up. You never see anybody like, oh, I can't believe it. It's always got a good vibe to it. They go there. But with that, cultivating that type of following that brand, have you had any challenges, again, since you came on board, where you had to make some hard decisions to steer the team in that direction, to make sure you're staying on brand, cultivate that?
I think over the Safe Harbor's seen a tremendous amount of growth. And with that, we've had to make some changes, or we've had to create more positions. So it's always difficult trying to allow the institution to grow, but at the same time still feel like that smaller institution that everybody had grown to love and love to work with. Dow Employees Credit Union. Back when it was on the plant. So we didn't want to really drift too far away from that small type credit union, but at the same time we we wanted to grow. We wanted to hire more people. To take care of our growing membership. One thing that I never thought I wanted to do was start a call center or contact center at the credit union. I always wanted someone just to call our 1-843-2323 number, and they would get a receptionist, and the receptionist could easily forward that call on to Blake Bailey or Jackie Tuka or Stephanie Ifkovich. But once we moved to that new building, it was very, very difficult for us to keep up with the amount of calls were coming in on a regular basis. So we had to have a call center just so when people call, and people would call like, hey, what's my balance today? And there were people that didn't maybe like online banking, so they loved coming into the branch or calling and talking to somebody. So we had to start a call center, so when people call, they could get somebody right away and get their questions or concerns dealt with right away. So that was something that I didn't ever think I wanted to do, but it was something that we felt like we had to do in order to serve our membership.
How did the team handle that?
I think they appreciated it because it was just everybody knew that they got a lot of complaints from members. Hey, I'm trying to call, I can't get in, I can't get through to anybody. So fortunately the staff was like, yes, this is something we need. It's going to make everybody's jobs a lot easier. Because sometimes the phone would ring to the tellers, that maybe all the tellers are working with members, maybe our membership officers. Veronica Mendez, she's always opening new accounts, so she couldn't always answer the phone. So I think everybody did appreciate it. It was a lot of work getting it implemented, but it was something that we definitely needed to do to serve our members better.
Yeah, and that's making a systematic change like that. The fact that you had a culture in place that gave you the benefit of the doubt and understood this was going to be a good thing for not only for them but also for the members is so important to have, and that speaks volumes to you and your team because you had to have that culture in place first. Mm-hmm. You can't do that after the fact because if you've lost anybody with the potential of having a culture that's not prepared, prepared to handle that there. So we got a couple minutes left there. Is there anyone or anything you wanted to mention before we make our way out of here?
Boy, I don't know. I love talking about the staff at Safe Harbor. They're hardworking, but I think hopefully one reason people like to work with us is because it's not stuffy. You don't you go in there and you're gonna talk to somebody like Blake Bailey that's could be your friend, could be your neighbor, and he's not gonna act like a fancy banker. He's just a guy that's going to be able to answer your financial questions, whether it's a mortgage loan or some other loan. So I'm just very appreciative of the staff that I get to work with on a regular basis. It's when you can show up to work every day and have fun and help a lot of people. Yeah, I mean that's a great day, and it never seems too stuffy or. It's just a lot of fun working with the crew at Safe Harbor Credit Union. No,
that's great to see. And again, that is apparent as someone who has been back and has seen, and you feel it when you walk into the doors. You see it. You can see it when you go even just through the drive-through. It's fantastic across the board. So again, Adam Johnson, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
No, like I was saying, you were when I was first putting this show together. You were again one of the first people basically came into my mind. So. When I walked up and said, "Hey, I got this thing. Would you be willing to give it a try with me?" You didn't even hesitate. You're right on board. So I definitely appreciate that. So, and again, that's all the time we have for today. Again, Adam, I want to thank you for joining us to share his leadership journey. Again, it's traveled far and abroad to get you where you are today. So I'm always looking for new leaders to have on this program and give them an opportunity to share their stories. I'm interested in leaders in every aspect of the community. So if you know a leader making an impact, go to summitbusinessguides.com/leadingwestmichigan and submit their name for consideration. And if you would like to learn more about what I do to help organizations, visit summitbusinessguides.com. Follow me on Summit Business Guides on Facebook or send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. Join us next week when I'll be talking with Aaron Doan, who is so much more than your local State Farm agent. He's another one of the selfless individuals leading West Michigan.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join us next week for more of Leading West Michigan right here on 102.7 WMOM.